The road that broke me also built me stronger than ever. I used to think life was a gentle ascent, a steady climb towards the peaks of success and happiness. I was wrong. Sometimes, life throws you down a ravine, shatters every bone in your body, and leaves you for dead. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes, only sometimes, the very fall that breaks you can forge you into something unbreakable. My name is Maya, I am 35, and this is the story of the road that broke me and then built me stronger than ever. It all started innocently enough, like most catastrophes do. I was 28, a rising star in the cutthroat world of advertising. My career was my everything. I worked 70-hour weeks, fueled by ambition and cheap coffee, living for the thrill of landing a big client or seeing my campaign plastered across billboards. I had just secured the biggest account of my career, a global tech giant, and the promotion to senior creative director was all but certain. My life felt like a perfectly crafted marketing campaign, bold, vibrant, and utterly in control. My fiancé, Ben, 30, was a stable, loving anchor in my chaotic world. We had just bought our dream apartment, a chic loft overlooking the city skyline, and wedding plans were in full swing. Everything was falling into place, a picture-perfect vision of success. I remember looking out from our balcony one evening, a glass of champagne in hand, feeling an almost dizzying sense of accomplishment. I truly believed I had it all. Then came the call. It was a Tuesday, just another busy workday. My assistant, Sarah, 24, rushed into my office, her face pale. "Maya, it's your mom. She sounds really upset." My heart immediately dropped into my stomach. My mom, Eleanor, 62, was usually unflappable. The news hit me like a physical blow. My dad, Arthur, 65, had suffered a massive stroke. He was in critical condition. The drive to the hospital was a blur of frantic phone calls and choked back sobs. When I saw him, hooked up to a tangle of machines, a silent, fragile shadow of the strong man I knew, my perfect world began to crack. The next few months were a nightmare. My dad was paralyzed on one side, unable to speak, and required constant care. My mom, exhausted and overwhelmed, was struggling. I tried to balance my demanding job with endless hospital visits and family responsibilities, but it was like trying to juggle flaming swords. My work started to suffer. Deadlines were missed, pitches lacked their usual sparkle, and my normally sharp focus was dulled by worry and sleep deprivation. My boss, Mr. Davies, 55, a man who valued results above all else, started giving me increasingly pointed looks. "Maya," he'd say, his voice devoid of warmth, "we appreciate your dedication, but we have a business to run. Is your head truly in the game?" I tried to keep up appearances, but inside, I was crumbling. The tech giant account, the one that was supposed to launch me to the top, was slipping through my fingers. I was burning out, physically and emotionally. I felt like I was failing everyone, my parents, Ben, my team, and most devastatingly, myself. One particularly brutal afternoon, after an all-night hospital vigil and a scathing critique from Mr. Davies, I collapsed in my office chair and just sobbed. Sarah, bless her heart, brought me a cup of tea and just sat there quietly. What would you do when you feel like your entire world is collapsing around you, and you can't see a way out? Then came the second blow, a punch to the gut I never saw coming. Ben. We had been fighting more and more, the stress of my dad's illness and my demanding job creating a chasm between us. He felt neglected, and I felt misunderstood. One evening, after a particularly heated argument, he looked at me with tired, defeated eyes. "Maya," he said, "I can't do this anymore. I need someone who's present, who has time for me." He left. Just like that. The man I was supposed to marry, the anchor in my life, had decided to set sail without me. The apartment, our dream loft, suddenly felt cold and empty, a monument to a future that would never be. My world didn't just crack, it shattered. My dad was still recovering, my job was on the line, and now, my personal life was in ruins. I was 29, and I had lost everything I thought defined me. The high-flying career, the perfect relationship, the illusion of control, all gone. I was adrift, a shipwreck in the middle of a storm. I took a leave of absence from work, partly because I needed it, and partly because I was essentially forced to. Mr. Davies made it clear that if I couldn't get my act together, my position wouldn't be waiting for me. I spent weeks in a daze, alternating between numb despair and incandescent rage. I ate ice cream for breakfast, watched endless reruns, and just existed. My mom, despite her own struggles, was my rock. She never judged, never pressured. She just held me, listened to my tears, and gently reminded me to eat. "Maya," she'd say, her voice soft, "sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself." I didn't understand it then. I just felt lost. The turning point was small, almost imperceptible. One morning, I woke up and the despair felt a little less suffocating. I looked around my empty apartment, once a symbol of my success, now a stark reminder of my losses. And for the first time in months, I felt a flicker of something other than pain. Anger. Not at Ben, not at my dad's illness, but at myself. Anger at allowing myself to be broken. I started with small steps. I went for a walk. Just around the block, slowly, my lungs burning, but I did it. The next day, I walked a little further. I started cooking healthy meals, remembering the joy I used to get from creating something with my hands. I started reading again, devouring books that had nothing to do with advertising or self-help, just stories that transported me out of my own head. I also started spending more intentional time with my dad. My mom and I began physical therapy with him, celebrating every tiny improvement. A flicker of movement in his hand, a mumbled word, each felt like a monumental victory. In those moments, tending to him, being fully present, I realized something profound. My old life had been a constant race, a performance, and I had been so focused on the destination that I had forgotten to live the journey. I thought about my advertising career. I was good at it, yes, but was I truly passionate? Or was I just chasing external validation, the applause of clients and colleagues? The answer, startlingly clear, was the latter. The road that broke me had forced me to confront that truth. I decided not to go back to my old job. It was a terrifying decision. I had no backup plan, no clear path. My friends, especially my colleague David, 32, who had been promoted to my old position, thought I was crazy. Maya, he'd said over coffee, you're throwing away years of hard work. You'll regret it. But I didn't feel regret. I felt a strange sense of liberation. For the first time, I was making a choice not out of obligation or expectation, but out of a deep, quiet understanding of what I needed. I started volunteering at a local community center, helping small businesses with their marketing. It was pro bono work, far removed from the glitz and glamour of my old life, but it was incredibly fulfilling. I was using my skills to genuinely help people, to build something meaningful, not just profitable. I found a joy in it that I had never experienced in the corporate world. It wasn't easy. There were days when the fear of financial instability crept in, days when I missed the thrill of the big campaigns. But I reminded myself of the lessons I had learned in the ravine: resilience, self-reliance, and the importance of genuine connection. Slowly, organically, my new path began to emerge. I started taking on freelance marketing projects for small businesses and nonprofits. My reputation grew, not for my aggressive tactics or my ability to charm big clients, but for my empathy, my integrity, and my genuine desire to help. I discovered that the empathy I had developed during my dad's illness, the patience I had cultivated, and the humility born from my own brokenness, were powerful assets in this new world. My dad continued to make slow but steady progress. He started to speak a few words, to move his hand a little more. My mom and I were a team, a unit forged in adversity. We learned to laugh again, to find joy in the small victories, and to appreciate the profound beauty of simply being present with each other. One day, almost 3 years after Ben left, I ran into him at a coffee shop. He looked surprised, a little awkward. He asked about my dad, about my life. I told him about my freelance work, about the community center, about the quiet joy I had found. He listened intently, and I could see a flicker of something in his eyes, regret, perhaps, or maybe just a recognition of the woman I had become. I wasn't the same driven, stressed-out Maya he had known. I was calmer, more grounded, and, ironically, stronger. You look good, Maya, he said, a genuine smile on his face. Really good. I just smiled back. The past was the past. I harbored no resentment. The road that had broken me had also released me from the need for his approval or anyone else's. Today, at 35, I run my own marketing consultancy, specializing in helping ethical businesses and nonprofits. My dad is still recovering, but he's here, laughing at my bad jokes and watching old movies with me. My mom is thriving, free from the crushing burden of being his sole caregiver. And I'm living a life that is truly mine, built from the rubble of my past, not in spite of it. The fall was devastating, yes. It stripped away everything I thought I needed. But in doing so, it revealed what I truly had: resilience, compassion, and an inner strength I never knew existed. The road that broke me also built me, piece by agonizing piece, into someone I am finally proud to be. What about you? Have you ever experienced a setback that ultimately made you stronger? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories of transformation.